Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Onyx Amulet ring and talk about whether it's worth using and how to get it and how to get the gems for it and stuff like that, in case you haven't been following along or you're picking up the patch late or just want to kind of get an idea of what's going on and how it all works, because there's a lot of confusion around the ring. So first of all, if you haven't got the ring yet, if you haven't been doing the Forbidden Reach stuff, just follow the quest chain, do all the quests that pop up. One of them will send you to the Zaskara vaults, and inside the Zaskara vaults you can find the ring on the ground. The Zaskara vaults is also your best source of more Primordial Stone gems, which are the gems that socket into the amulet, right? All these different gems. Now, in addition to the gems themselves, you will also find dormant primordial fragments, which can be used for one of two things. The dormant primordial fragments can be used to buy, first of all, if you accidentally don't get or delete or sell your Onyx Amulet, or if you want two different amulets with two different configurations in it, then you don't want to have to come back here to resocket them, you can buy one of those for 10 dormant primordial fragments. You can also buy a random gem from a certain family. So if you want a certain gem, you spend 10 to 50 dormant primordial fragments on ones from its school or whatever, and you'll probably get it. Although there's no guarantees, you can get duplicates of ones you already have. There are like only 2 or 3 gems per family though, so usually you can get it pretty quick out of that. Then you also can upgrade the gems. So you can see how my ring is 424 here. That's because I've upgraded each of the gems that are in it twice. If you don't upgrade the gems, they're 411. You upgrade them once, they become 418. You upgrade them again, they become 424. How do you upgrade them? Well, you need a jewel crafter to craft you some unstable elementium. Unstable elementium. Which you just work order this. It costs 10 primordial fragments, and also takes some silken gem dust, which you can just not use. You can have the jewel crafter use this as well if you put an extra commission on it, maybe get the public order. You can see on my server right now these things are going for 500 gold per work order, and you could probably get them. I suspect that price is going to continue going down as more jewel crafters get the recipe and less people need this initial rush, but you can also just try and find a jewel crafter that has the recipe. Either way, you need 6 of these total to take 3 rings from 4, or 3 gems from 411 to 424, and then you need 2 more for each extra gem that you want access to. So, is the ring worth using? Well, it depends on your spec. Many specs it's not particularly good for, especially if you really like secondaries. If you're like a DPS spec that really likes secondaries, may not be worth it for you. There are a bunch of different combos that haven't been tried yet that are still being tried, so those are... I don't know what the best ones are yet, but I will say, here's the one that I've seen a lot of people using, and I've been using myself, and it's been giving me a lot of value, is Humming Arcane plus Prophetic Twilight plus Desirous Blood. So Desirous Blood deals damage and heals you. Humming Arcane deals damage. And Prophetic Twilight says damaging effects trigger your healing effects, and vice versa. And Desirous Blood is a damage effect and a healing effect. So you get some feedback loops here. So, for instance, here's my overall from a 26 Shadow Moon, where I was using this combination. You see Humming Arcane did 6.5% of my damage, and Desirous Blood did 3.1%. But I'm a tank, obviously, so it's more valuable. I think using this is definitely better than a 418 ring for damage for all tank specs. For DPS, it's probably only good on single target, which I think is still the best thing you can do in Mplus, probably. If we switch this to just looking at like one of the bosses, right, boss fight, here on the boss fight you can see Humming Arcane plus Desirous Blood actually did 11.5% of my damage, right? If we change this to Bone Maw, here it did... On Bone Maw, it did 24% of my damage came from my Onyx Amulet, right? So if you think about the fact that most of your time in M+ is spent on... Like, much of the time you can save in M+ is from increasing your single target, right? If you could gain 1k single target in exchange for losing 1.5k AoE, like, that would be giga worth in most cases. So that is, I think, a good argument for that. And then if you look in the trash segments even, right, like, the amulet is still representing 6.1% or 6.7% of my damage in this trash segment, right? Like, it's still doing good damage for a tank in the rest of the dungeon. For DPS players, it's a loss in the rest of the dungeon compared to secondaries, I think, for most specs. And for some specs, it's like a giga loss, but I think this combo is definitely a good setup. There are some other ones I've heard of as well that are potentially good. There's some bug with like the Mojo Stone. There's there's a bunch of other possibilities. There are defensive builds that you can set up with this as well. I haven't looked at this. The Desirous Blood technically does heal you. It did, 3% of my healing, so not a big deal. 50% overheal on this thing as well. So again, not a huge deal, at least defensively with this configuration. And you're giving up secondaries, obviously, for it as well, which you're giving up 1,200 secondaries compared to a 418 socketed ring, right? So that is a big thing to be sacrificing, but it is, I think, worth on the damage side, at least for tanks for Mythic Plus and for tanks for Raid. It would be a big damage increase. But I don't know for all DPS specs, and there are other combinations that are being discovered as we talk. Now, if you want to move around your gems or anything, there's a few things you can do here once you've done a little quest to get some of the tools out of the vault, which are you can unsocket your gems here. You got this pluck out Primordial Stone thing, the extra action button that you can use and unsocket your gems. If you're standing near here, you can also use the anvil here to break stones. So this is how you smash your stones and get extra fragments if you need extra fragments. One more thing, if you want some more Zaskara Vault keys, you can get, the keys are bind on account. So you can get them from rares, you can get them from Outdoor World stuff in the Forbidden Reach, but you can also get them by making an alt, having your alt skip all the intro quests, because there's like skip prompts for several of the intro quests, and then very early on you get like 6 keys just handed to you from a quest. So you just do that on like 3 alts that are at max level. You can mail your main 18 vault keys, and then they can go do that. Now the stones and the fragments are not bind on account, so you do need to do the Zaskara vaults for those mats on any characters that you want the amulet on, but you can have your other characters help out whichever character you're working on the amulet on by sending all their keys over. And also potentially, once you've cleared rares in this area for like an hour, half of the rares that spawn you're already going to be saved to, right? So it'd be better to switch to another character and then go back off of your daily reset on those rares. So if you're interested in turbo farming it, that's the way to do it. But again, it's not too much of a time investment to do this. Like this took me probably like 2 or 3 hours worth of total work in the Forbidden Reach to get access to basically any 3 or 4 upgraded gems that I wanted, and a bunch of backup gems as well that I can use. And now if I wanted more, I probably won't be able to easily get more till next week, because I think I've opened all the doors in this stupid place. Yeah, this achievement was bugged, but they fixed it. But yeah, I've opened all the doors in this vault for the week. But anyways, that's most of the FAQs, frequently asked questions, that I've been getting about the ring. Let's see if anybody else in my group was running it. I don't know if anybody else was. I think some of them will, but just didn't get it yet. I think our rogue was gonna, just didn't get it yet. Yeah, so I was the only person in the group actually running the ring. I don't know if it's gonna be worth it over secondaries for like AF or fire. It'd probably be worth for healer damage as well. So that is an early look at how the Onyx Amulet is shaken up. You can look, okay, here is another useful thing that I have thought of. If you want to see what people are using in keys, you can use this site, mplus.subcreation.net. So Warcraft Logs has some tools for seeing what gems people are using, but mplus.subcreation.net is actually really nice for it as well. Now, the problem is there's only a few runs that are in here as of right now, so it's pretty early days. But you'll be able to start seeing what gems people are using once more people are using and logging themselves with gems, and you can start seeing how much there's certain builds are being popular. But again, I wouldn't use this too much until there's a solid amount of logs. You can look in the raid side as well, and wait, why is it faded raids? Okay, Vault of the Incarnates. Okay, found it. You look at the raid side as well and see what people are using here. Again, most people are using no gems because these are logs going back for several weeks, but you can start seeing what combos people are running. And in Raid, it looked like this was just like the straight up damage combo, and then nobody was even using the prophetic combo yet for in here, but soon we'll be able to start looking at like max DPS on Taros, right? You can just start seeing like, okay, what are the people doing top damage using, and those aren't necessarily going to be the best gems, but there's probably going to be a correlation. Anyways, hope this video helped. Hope this answered some of your questions about the Onyx Amulet. In terms of a little bit of my... Oops, I closed the wrong thing. There we go. Okay. In terms of a little bit of my opinion on the Amulet, I don't think this is... Like, I don't think it's awful or anything, but I do think that it's not feeling particularly good. Like, I'm wearing these gems, I'm doing damage with them, and it's like quite a bit of damage, but I'm losing haste and verse, and like those stats are nice for play. Like, I feel like I've gotten weaker, right? I feel like when you level up in a new expansion and you your character gets weaker because you've leveled up, right? And you're like, oh, wait a sec. And that's not a super great feeling. And it's not like the effects actually show up as anything, right? It literally just is like, they're all just damage procs or absorb shields or something, right? None of them are like stat procs, anything like that actually makes your character feel different. None of them have like big visuals or CDR or any effects like that. So for the most part, it feels like my character has gotten worse a little bit from putting on this ring, even though I do think it is worth to equip, for at least for my character. But the fact that it's not necessarily worth it for a lot of DPS specs, right? For some DPS specs, it's quite good. For some, it's less good. That is something that I'm a little hesitant to be super excited about the system. I mean, the thing is, it's like a small system, right? They don't want it to be better than rings from next raid, and I assume they'll nerf it if people are using it over mythic raid rings. At this rate, I'm not sure it'll even be better than heroic and mythic raid rings from next patch. Maybe it will be for some specs and they'll need to nerf it so that it's not used, but either way, it's not like a huge problem, but it does seem to me to be a little bit... Like, it's unfortunate that it is like this. I think it would be fixable as well. I think they could introduce like one gem for each secondary stat that just gave like 450 or 500 of that secondary. And then if you could wear like one stat, like you could wear 450 or 500 haste, and then you could have 2 procs, right? Or you could do haste verse and a proc. And compared to a 418 ring, like a 418 socketed ring, this thing has 600, it has 1200 secondaries on it. So you could put 3 different secondaries in it, but you'd have to have your 3rd best secondary in there. You get more total secondaries, but it would be, I mean, it needs to be more, so it's better, right? But yeah, I think that would be the best way to make the ring feel good to have / use, is to just introduce one primordial gem per secondary at a rate that is like slightly above what you get, like a third of the stat budget of a 418 or 420 socketed ring or whatever, something like that. But either way, that is my video about the primordial stones as they stand right now. I will potentially make some more videos if there are more things happening, if there are some new combos discovered, that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of ones that people have talked about in like my Twitch chat that I just don't know enough about, but presumably we'll be able to see through statistics, right, if any of them start taking off and start doing insane amounts of damage. So it's also possible that this interaction that I'm talking about here between Prophetic, Twilight, Humming Arcane, and Desirous Blood, it's possible this interaction will get changed. If it does, then maybe the amulet will not be worth to use for any DPS. I'm not sure. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helped. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.